Manifesto by Keir Starmer. I'm very pleased to welcome Martin Abrams from Momentum Executive, it says here. Martin, welcome.
Good afternoon, Nick. Happy to be here.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. Look, I must confess, I've not read all 130 pages of Labour's manifesto yet. Ambitious, would you say?
I mean, the manifesto shows that a Labour government can make progressive change, but it also shows that it needs to make a whole lot more. And, you know, we would welcome policies such as ending tax breaks for private schools, public ownership of rail, and the much needed repealing of anti-union laws in the New Deal for working people. And, you know, it's no coincidence, Nick, that Labour's most popular policies that I've just mentioned take on the few on behalf of the many. But, you know, it's clear that this manifesto does not go far enough. For example, I'm a local councillor in Lambeth, and I deal with a lot of cases of families that are really, really struggling through the cost of living crisis at the moment. So I really wanted to see the Labour Party end the two-child benefit cap that the Tory government have implemented, and which has cast hundreds of thousands of families into grinding poverty. And, you know, people and I would ask the question, why has the Labour Party not scrapped that, but maintained the scrapping of the bankers' bonus cap? You know, this manifesto essentially caps child benefit, but not bankers' bonuses.
Well, let's talk about tax for a minute. We are hearing what, in this case, Labour, but I have to say it's pretty similar with the Conservatives, what they're not going to raise taxes on. Now, I look at that and think, actually, I'd love to hear what you are proposing to increase in taxes. And you've got one or two things from Labour that you've talked about already. But how does that sit with you, that the party, if you like, I mean, there's a view that Keir Starmer's got such a big lead, he could announce a wealth tax and probably still keep that lead. There's people who were asking him that last night in the debates. I mean, do you think the Labour Party is hamstrung by its past for fear of losing elections, that they dare not go near tax?
I do agree with that, Nick. And my view is that if Keir Starmer came out today and said he was implementing a wealth tax on the country's, 1%, the richest individuals in this country, then the Labour Party lead would increase even further. That is a tremendously popular policy. You know, when people just have to walk out of their house to see the inequality that is facing us every single day, the wealth inequality. We've got some of the richest people in the world living in the UK, Nick, and it is absolutely obscene that none of the two main political parties are talking about progressive taxation.
All right, let me ask you, if I may, what happened? Sorry to interrupt you there, Martin, but let me ask you this: what happened to the left-wing Keir Starmer we're told existed as early as his student days and beyond?
That's a good question. I'm still looking for him. If anyone can find him, please.
But doesn't that?
Please let me know, because when Keir Starmer stood to be leader of the Labour Party, he stood on 10 solemn pledges, including increasing wealth taxes on the country's richest. Policies about climate justice, saying that the climate change, fighting climate change is his top priority. Today, he said that wealth creation was his top priority. And whilst it is important that there is wealth creation and an onslaught against the inequality that we're facing in this society, there can be no greater priority than the grave crisis of climate change that is facing this country and our country's youngest people.
Okay, Martin, but let me
deal with the worst consequences of it.
Yeah, let me come back to that, because basically that agenda was Jeremy Corbyn's agenda, okay? And the country firmly rejected it. Hasn't Keir Starmer just learnt the lesson? If you want a Labour Party in power, you don't stand on the platforms that you have just reiterated that, of course, were very familiar with Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto back in 2019.
Well, Nick, you've just heard from that previous caller, and I do empathise
with Jill,
with her views, because there is a deficit of trust within the political class, with the political class at the moment, because we have just been constantly lied to by our political leaders. And regardless of whether some of those policies that Keir Starmer stood on a platform of were similar to Jeremy Corbyn's, he stood on a platform of those 10 solemn pledges. And
you're talking about his leadership. Just to clarify, you're talking about his leadership campaign now.
This is really important, Nick.
No, I'm not saying it isn't. I just wanted to clarify that rather than a general election platform. Yeah.
He said that many of these pledges would be in the manifesto that he has published today, and they are not. And the problem is that we're going through a period in our history where politicians are some of the least trusted individuals in the country. I think only journalists are slightly higher than that. I'm sorry to say, Nick, but it is a real issue when politicians stand on platforms and say they're making promises and then break them almost immediately.
A lot of people are going to agree with you, Martin. A lot of people are going to agree with you on that. But the bottom line is, if you believe the polls, it's not making a blind bit of difference. Keir Starmer is cruising ahead.
Absolutely. The Labour Party are going to win an absolutely huge majority. And the Labour Party should be planning for government. It's almost certain that the Labour Party are going to win.
And do you welcome that?
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a Labour Party member, Nick. I'm a Labour Party councillor. We need a Labour government, but we need a Labour government that follows progressive policies like the ones I've outlined, like the repealing of anti-trade union laws, the New Deal for working people, renationalising our utilities, and things like that, and redistribution of wealth.
With those policies, do you think you could do a Ken Livingstone and actually change the Labour Party once they are in power?
I mean, that's a good question. Are you saying that Keir Starmer might suddenly become...
I'm asking you if you... No, I'm asking you, because of your beliefs, your strongly held beliefs on this much more, let's call it left-wing agenda, right? Would you, as a Labour Party member, actively seek to change the leadership in the Labour Party so you could have a more left-wing Prime Minister? Do a Ken Livingstone? Very hypothetical.
Listen, I'm no fan of Keir Starmer. I'll be completely honest with you, but he is the leader of the Labour Party, and it's almost nailed on that he's going to win the election. So
I'm talking about after the election, if he did win,
he is going to form the next government, and whatever happens to his leadership after that is going to be based on what actions he takes as leader, and that is why it's important to have a broad church within the Labour Party, those on the left like myself, and people on the right, who Keir Starmer surrounds himself with day after day, doing inexplicable things like sacking candidates like Faiza Shaheen. It is a broad church, the Labour Party, and someone said recently, a plane cannot fly without a left wing and a right wing.
Well, okay, that's almost a great point to end it. One quick question: would you prefer Angela Rayner as leader and potential Prime Minister than Keir Starmer?
Well, Angela, I'm from the same place as Angela Rayner. I was born in Ashton-under-Lyne, so I've got a lot of time for Angela Rayner, but she also needs to prove herself as deputy leader.
A lot of demands from you there, Martin, but thank you.
There's some huge demands. I've got a lot of time for Angela Rayner, and growing up in the same place is important, but she does need to do a lot of work as well.
Great to have you on the show. Thank you, Martin Abrams, Momentum Executive, for joining us there. I thought quite fascinating. There is an element in the Labour Party that, should they come to power, will never be satisfied with the agenda